2 days ago, this video came across my YouTube. One man trying to make changes to his diet to improve his overall life. So for 1 month, he set the challenge of tracking his calories every day as someone who had never done it before. But here's the thing, there's definitely things that he could have improved to make his fat loss easier. So in this video, I'm gonna break down not only the things that he did well, but the mistakes that he made and the easiest ways to fix them.
Before I start this experiment, I need to know how many calories I should consume. I went to get my resting metabolic rate to get an accurate number. My local DEXA Fit provided me with a free test. And so this will tell me how many calories I'll need to eat, like, or my body needs a day, or...
All right, starting off, what actually is resting metabolic rate? If you were to lie down and do nothing, resting metabolic rate would be all the energy that your body burns to keep you alive. Keeping your heart beating, you breathing, your brain functioning. A lot of the energy that you burn in a day goes towards those things. One nitpick with this test, it only shows one of the 4 ways that you burn energy across the day. This is called your TDEE, total daily energy expenditure. The energy you burn in a day, it's split up across these 4 things. There's BMR, your basal metabolic rate, which is what they're talking about. There's NEAT, your non-exercise energy. There's EAT, your exercise energy. And there's TEF, thermic effect of food. All of these add up to the total amount of energy you burn in a day. It isn't all just your resting metabolic rate.
Well, it gives you the biggest portion of that, which is how much you burn at rest.
So that is right with how much you burn at rest. You typically burn about 70% of your total daily energy from your resting metabolic rate.
I found out my resting metabolic rate is slow.
A lot of the time, people will refer to their resting metabolic rate or the BMR as their metabolism, but everyone's metabolism is pretty much the same. If anything, his metabolism might actually be faster than the average person. He's a bigger guy, so he actually requires more energy.
After wearing this mask that measures my breathing, he calculated my activity level from my smartwatch data and my diet, and told me how many calories I should eat in a day.
This test is good, but it's completely unnecessary. One of the easiest things you can do is just go onto the internet and look up TDEE calculator. When you do this, you'll go in, plug in all your numbers, and this will spit out your maintenance calorie level. This is the amount of calories you would have to eat a day to stay the same body weight. You can then go and take 400 to 500 calories off of that, and that will put you in a calorie deficit. That way you don't have to spend all this extra time and money doing a test where it's gonna give you basically the same result.
So we just got done, and he told me if I wanted to lose like a pound a week, I have to eat 1,860 calories. That sounds a lot harder than I thought. I thought it was gonna be like maybe 2,000, but yeah, I guess we'll see how this goes.
That seems super low, and there's definitely things that we could change to bring up that calorie number. Things like how many training sessions you do a week, increasing how many steps you take a day. These can all add up to more energy burned. That way we don't only have to restrict how much food we eat.
I used the calorie counting app to track all of my calories throughout this challenge. I just scanned the product I'm eating and added it into the app. I got 2 eggs, 3 slices of turkey bacon, a piece of toast with some honey on top.
So we're starting off good because he's actually counting his calories. Honestly, calorie counting is the best way because it means you can still eat the foods that you like and you can just make it fit into your total intake for the day. That's why a lot of diets fail, because people cut out all the foods that they like and they think it has to stay that way forever and they can never eat those foods again if they want to keep their results.
Now the wonderful thing about coffee is that there's like virtually no calories, and I use stevia, which is also 0 calories, so I can drink coffee guilt-free.
He is right, coffee and sweetener, no calories. And there actually is research showing that having caffeine can increase how many calories you burn throughout the day. It is a small amount, about 100-ish extra, but it all adds up.
Lunchtime, gonna have this, a healthy choice meal. I've been using these for lunch because it's just so easy.
Something that is really good when you're starting out counting calories, pre-packed meals. That way you can just scan the barcode and everything is there for you and you don't have to weigh anything out. This is honestly a good starting point for him. Yes, whole foods will reign supreme when it comes to improving your diet, but having something easy to stick to at the start is also super important to get momentum going. Just by having him simply track his calories and know what he is feeding himself, it's a great start to improving his overall diet quality. And this can be used to build a strong foundation that he can then improve on later.
Kind of want some goldfish. Hold on, I want to be clear and say that the goal of this challenge is to eat in moderation and eat somewhat healthy. not to eat perfectly.
He is actually killing it so far. Are these goldfish bad for him? Well, if it's helping him stick to his diet, no. Yes, eating things in moderation is key, but he's having them with a full meal. He's not eating the whole packet at once.
Here's dinner: salmon with some teriyaki sauce, asparagus, and some rice.
That dinner, it's pretty good. He has a protein source with the salmon, he's got some veggies on there, and he's even got a little bit of rice.
Because I had some calories left over, I ended my first day with some Skittles and some homemade movie theater popcorn.
Plus, he's also done something unknowingly that a lot of experienced dieters do. Something called calorie banking. By saving calories throughout the day, you can use them at night when you're more likely to want a sweet treat to finish your day, or you're just more snacky in general. So being able to have these Skittles and the popcorn to finish his day off, it probably makes his dieting more sustainable. Now, here's the first mistake I would fix with his diet. The problem you see with a lot of people that only focus on their calorie intake, they ignore other important things when it comes to their diet. Something he is missing in a lot of his meals is protein. Yes, it's essential for things like muscle growth, but it can also help with your dieting because it makes you feel fuller for longer. And looking at these meals across his first day, he's only getting about 90-ish grams per day. He's 111 kilos, so that would be only 0.8 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. Since he is overweight, when finding your protein intake, you want to go off your desired body weight. If he was one of my clients, let's say he wanted to get down to 100 kilos, we'd want him to be eating 1.6 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. That would put him at around 160-ish grams per day. So he's eating less than half of what we would want him to be eating. Some small changes we could do is adding things in like a scoop of protein powder here and there throughout the day. That way we can bring up his protein intake without making him force feed himself. Or we could look to add in something like a chicken breast or steak to this prepackaged meal. That way it's still convenient for him and we're not making him track 16 different things at once. We're just adding in one small extra thing.
So I kind of messed up. The weekends have been harder than I thought it would be. So far in this challenge, I've been through 2 weekends, and each weekend there was at least one day where I ate a little more calories than I should have. It's hard because on the weekends we tend to like to relax and we probably eat out more than we usually would if it was a weekday. But honestly, outside of that, the challenge has been easier than I thought it would be. So we'll see.
I totally get this because weekends are the worst for people when it comes to dieting. This is where we can do something like calorie banking on a bigger scale. If he can handle it, he could eat 200 calories less Monday to Friday. That way, he has an extra 1,000 calories that he can use across Saturday and Sunday on the weekend. And that way, he can enjoy meals out with friends or family. The weekend slip up is a mistake that a lot of people make when dieting. They think that everything has to be the exact same every single day. So as soon as they make one mistake, they fall off the wagon and then they let themselves spiral out of control into next week. Sometimes you just need to look at your weekly calorie intake instead of your daily calorie intake. If they're both the same at the end of the week, you're going to lose the same amount of fat.
For the next couple of weeks, I work to find out what works for me. Instead of grabbing a snack when I'm not really that hungry, deciding to chew some gum. I love sweet tea, but it has a lot of calories. So I bought a 0-calorie sweet tea to have here and there.
I love this, I love this, and I love this. Giving yourself something to chew on like minty gum is great when you're in a calorie deficit. It gives you that sweet hit that a lot of people need when it comes to snacking, but it is no calories. And honestly, you're less likely to go and eat something if you have a nice minty taste in your mouth. Swapping from full sugar to a sugar-free drink is also a definite must when it comes to a calorie deficit. If you only swap from a full sugar to a sugar-free, you could save minimum 300 calories a day. And if we go and look, and when you look at the research, people that drink water versus sugar-free drinks actually lose more fat. Why does this happen? Well, if you're only drinking water, you might be looking for that sweet taste from something else, and that could add to your calorie intake for the day. But with sugar-free drinks, you still get a sweet hit, but they're 0 calories and they can help to satisfy sweet tooth. They're my biggest weapon when it comes to dieting, and I'm having 2, 3, 4 cans of Coke Zero a day. Shout out sugar-free drinks.
I also learned to make homemade tortilla chips and French fries in the air fryer. Just finding ways to eat the things that I love, but just consuming less calories.
Making healthier homemade versions of the food that you want is also one of the most amazing things you can do for fat loss. Air fryers are also great for this because it can remove how much oil you use in the cooking process. Yes, dietary fat is super important when it comes to your overall health. However, when you look at your macronutrients, your protein, carbs, and fats, fat is over double the amount of calories that protein or carbs are. So finding simple changes like making your own homemade versions of these is one of the best ways to control how many calories are in the foods that you're eating. Not to mention that you can control the quality of the food that you're eating and primarily use whole foods, single ingredients. Something else he could use to make more homemade recipes is something like a Ninja Creamy, because one, he already likes eating ice cream, and if we can keep that in his diet, it makes it more enjoyable, and it means that he can diet and lose fat for longer periods of time without getting burnt out. But we can also use a Ninja Creamy to increase his protein intake that he was struggling with as well. By having a simple recipe with low fat milk and using something like a protein powder, we can have low calorie, high protein ice cream that still fits into his calorie deficit. A Ninja Creamy is the greatest dieting tool, in my personal opinion, but he's already doing pretty well. So if he doesn't need one, all power to him.
My wife loves to come home with this kind of stuff, but I'm lucky because this challenge, I can still eat it, I just have to count it, so let's see if I got the calories. This was me a few times every week, wanting something but not sure if I have the calories. 300 calories per serving. I would do half of a serving. Typically I would have eaten more than half of that loaf of sweet bread slowly throughout the day. But something I've learned is moderation is key.
He is right here as well. Moderation is key. The problem with ultra processed food, they're super easy to overeat on because they're super sweet, they aren't high volume, so they don't fill us up as much, so we can eat more and more calories and blow out our calorie intake for the day. And by him tracking that, he can see the sacrifices he's making in the amount of food that he could be eating. When you look at the calories from this sweet bread compared to an apple and some veggies, you can eat a lot more of them for the same amount. You can still 100% eat these things because one, it does make your diet easier to stick to by incorporating all the kinds of foods that you like in moderation. And if he likes eating them, it's gonna make his diet easier to stick to as long as he makes it fit into his calorie deficit. And by having small amounts of it every day, he's not cutting it completely out of his life, which means he's not gonna spiral out of control when he sees it on the bench one day and eat the whole loaf at once. What gets measured gets managed, and by him measuring his calories, he's managing how much of these foods that he's eating.
The last meal of this challenge, I've got some shrimp spaghetti. No vegetables, unfortunately. I ran out of those, but this is 423 calories.
All right, whoa, let's never remove vegetables from our diet. Just like the protein, something super important that he's missing from his diet is his fiber intake. Fiber is super important for your overall health, and it has been linked to reducing your risk of cancer. Not to mention, when you're in a calorie deficit and losing fat, it can make dieting easier because it keeps you fuller for longer because it slows down the digestion of the foods that you just ate, which makes you less likely to snack, which makes you less hungry all the time, which makes you less likely to be thinking about all the foods that you're not eating or all the sweet treats that you could be crashing your diet out on. Judging on the foods that he ate on day one, his fiber intake is at about 15-ish grams per day. And the daily intake you should be aiming for is 25 to 35 grams. Some simple changes he could make is adding in some pieces of fruit here and there, things like apples, kiwi fruits, blueberries. He could also increase the amount of vegetables that he's eating per meal and reduce how much rice or pasta that he's eating. That way, he still eats the same amount of calories, but he's using more vegetables, which can also increase how big his meal is and keep him fuller for longer. That way, he's increasing his fiber intake while still staying in his calorie range.
So I reviewed some of the days where I ate more calories than I probably should have. Specifically, we went to Six Flags one weekend. So much fun. But I ate probably 1,000 more calories than I probably should have. A lot of the times in the past, if I wanted to go on a diet, but one day I messed up, I would stop then. But I realized there's always the next day. The next day, continue what you were doing. Don't let one day stop your goals.
I love this. The results of your diet don't come from one day. They come from weeks and months of progress. Just because you ate too much on one day does not mean that you have to throw out your whole diet and all the progress you've made up to that point. And just like he said, there's always the next day. There's nothing wrong with messing up. You just move on the next day like nothing happened, and you return straight back to your routine, eating the same meals, sticking to your calorie intake. People overestimate what they can do in a month, but underestimate what they can do in a year.
Before I talk about how much weight I lost, I need to mention the most important thing for me of this challenge, and it was how eye-opening it was. I learned a lot about my eating habits, and I realized overeating is not what brings me happiness. Now, don't get me wrong, I love to eat, but knowing how much I'm putting in my body has been extremely helpful, and it has made me a little lighter.
For him and a lot of people, overeating isn't the issue. It's the food choice that they're making. A lot of foods now, they are calorie dense. So it's a lot easier to eat more calories for a less amount of food. And that's why it's so important to know the calories in the food that you're eating day to day. Plus, dieting and eating in a calorie deficit actually becomes easier once you know these things. If you focus on lean cuts of meat, fruit and vegetables, grains, you can eat more food that's the same or less calories than if you only ate ultra-processed and pre-packaged foods. But let's see how much weight he lost.
Here's how much weight I lost. Week 1, I weighed 245 pounds, and by week 4, I weighed 237. I lost 8 pounds in 30 days.
So 2 pounds or 900 grams a week. That's actually really good. When losing fat, there's something called the rate of loss, how much fat we would lose a week. This is normally in a percentage, 0.5 to 1% of your total body weight per week. So since he was 111 kilos, his range is something from half a kilo to 1 kilo a week, and he's perfectly in that.
I'll take it, considering I didn't have to give up too much of the food I love. I do want to strive to eat less junk because it's good for your health overall, and it'll help stop cravings, but one step at a time.
One step at a time. Love this. He's not doing too much all at once. And by slowly introducing new habits and behaviors in, it makes lifestyle changes that can actually last forever. It's not some fad change that only happens for 1 month before he crashes out and stops doing everything. Yeah, he probably was losing a little bit of muscle because he wasn't resistance training and he wasn't hitting his protein goals, but once again, small changes at a time. In regards to him eating 1900 calories a day, that is a little bit extreme. And he could look to raise this a little bit by maybe 200 to 300 calories, especially if he begins to struggle with cravings.
I am slightly worried I lost some muscle because I wasn't doing a good job at getting a lot of protein and getting some resistance training in, but again, one step at a time.
One of the biggest reasons why resistance training and going to the gym is so good for fat loss is because the amount of calories that you burn from muscle mass. Yes, you burn energy training in the gym, but your body also burns more energy holding onto the muscle that you build in there. For every extra kilo of muscle that you have, you can burn up to 10 to 15 more calories a day. All in all though, watching this video, I fucking love this. He's doing the right thing and making small changes instead of changing his whole lifestyle overnight. If he was one of my one-to-one clients though, I would definitely look at increasing how much protein he's eating a day and how much fiber he's eating. That way we can support his muscle growth and we can make dieting a little bit easier for him. I'd also look to be trying to go to the gym 2 to 3 times a week for 45 minutes. That way we could burn a little bit extra energy with some physical activity and we could build more muscle. But considering he's just started out for the first 30 days to track his calories every single day, he's fucking killing it. And I love seeing it and I really hope that he doesn't stop. If you're trying to lose fat, I help people just like this guy by working one-on-one with them to improve their diet and helping them to build more muscle. There's a link in the description to work together. There's also free fat loss tips that you can get there, so check them out. But there's one problem with eating healthier and trying to lose fat because everyone tells you to eat more protein. But what if red meat was causing cancer? Well, to find the answer to that, you should probably watch this video.